Anakin frantically paced from the front to the back of Padme's apartment as he tried to think of a way to retrieve Ahsoka. With his mission being a personal one, he knew that he couldn't ask for the help of the Council, so returning to the Jedi Temple, he heads to the quarters of his old master. Whether by luck or fate, Obi-Wan is in his quarters with the Keldor Master Plo Koon, and the look of concern on Anakin's face was all the Jedi Masters needed. The Jedi Knight explained the predicament that he had placed upon Ahsoka, and the Jedi Masters did not look surprised. Their thoughts are interrupted by the astromech droid R787, who Anakin knew belonged to Ahsoka, and in its droid speak, Anakin translated that Ahsoka had been in the archives. Anakin was immediately suspicious, knowing his Padawan's hatred for the place, so when he led the 3 Jedi to the archives, he was shocked that Jocasta Nu confirmed Ahsoka had been studying with Terra Sinube. The Jedi looked at each other with concern, knowing how familiar the Kossian Master was with the underworld, but with no other leads, that would have to be their next destination. With the help of Captain Rex, the Jedi secretly used a low-altitude assault gunship from the military base, and they travelled below the surface of Coruscant. The well-disguised mix of escaped convicts and low-life criminals are no match for Anakin's powers, and the Jedi can sense the lower levels are crawling with mischief. But what its focus is upon was the Moshi Bar, previously visited by Ahsoka and Plo Koon. Obi-Wan decides that the Jedi needed to be subtle, so with the other 2 Jedi waiting outside, Obi-Wan asks for a drink whilst listening to the seedy characters around him. On this particular evening, the bar was home to a number of bounty hunters and a squad of wayward clones, and with the help of an oral amplifier, Obi-Wan overheard a description of the 2 missing Jedi. The Jedi Master quietly left the bar without causing a riot, and were about to head for the spaceport when the wall-mounted view screen beside a billboard flashed above them. The breaking HoloNet news was that there were rumblings in the Dathomir system, and before the report had even finished, Anakin was sprinting back to the gunship. As with the mission to Lola Seu, Plo Koon served as emergency reinforcement for the 2 Jedi, and with a small group of the 501st Legion, Anakin and Obi-Wan take the Twilight to Dathomir. The team were constantly monitoring the airways for any sign of the missing Jedi, but the only update was the battle being ignited by the Separatists. When the Jedi eventually reached the skies of Dathomir, Anakin could sense the presence of his Padawan, but also a great darkness, which dangled over the battle like a giant shadow. The rusty Twilight was taking hits from all sides, through shrapnel generated by the Separatist dreadnought, and Obi-Wan took over the controls of the ship, whilst Anakin tried to stabilise it with the Force. Instead of providing a clearance code to get past the blockade, the Jedi fought through the defences, and the OM battle droids assumed that those inside were already dead. Little did they know that Anakin had done this on purpose, and once they left the detection of the dreadnought, R2-D2 set the destination for an uninhabited swamp. With Anakin's use of the Force, he prevents a total crash of the Twilight, but the impact forces Longshot and Charger to stay behind and repair the ship. The small team did not need Anakin's powers to find the missing Jedi, and utilising R2-D2's full spectrum transceiver, they detect activity 3 clicks south of their location. Anakin and Rex led the squad through the mist, and the sound of blaster fire and Ichor energy grew louder, until they started to see the bodies of battle droid and Night Sisters across the ground. Hidden beneath a gravethorn, Anakin's heart soared to the skies as he saw Ahsoka and Master Sinube seeking refuge, and he whistled to attract their attention. Their attempts to wave back were cut short, as the burial pod above their heads was broken by a stray blaster bolt, and a Night Sister zombie started crawling over the Jedi. The reinforcements took this as a sign to enter the battle, and though the Night Sisters would not admit it, they were grateful for the Jedi's intervention. The familiar coughing of Grievous from the centre of the fortress was Obi-Wan's cue to leave the team, and this left Anakin to protect the clan and find Ventress. The exiled Sith assassin was not difficult to find, as she was crawling on the floor from her attempt to fight the cyborg, and Anakin lifted her to the heart of the village, where the old Daka could perform her healing magics. This left the Jedi Knight free to join the battle, and glancing at his master dueling his old foe, Anakin thought he would join in, and he squeezed Grievous's organs so they merged into one unit, leaving Obi-Wan to impale his blue blade into Grievous. Without their general, the battle droids started to look out of sequence, and the organised Night Sisters picked off their opposition. In the absence of Grievous, the OM command droid ordered for the army to retreat, and in the command center, Dooku was surprised to see the yellow marked droid instead of the cyborg. What should have been a routine massacre for the cyborg, thanks to one of the escaped bounty hunters tracking the two Jedi, had turned into a catastrophic disaster, and now he had the unenviable task of reporting this to Sidious. The 00M command droid was lucky to still be standing, and the same could be said for Sarge Ventress. The Dathomirian had come out second best against Grievous, but with the help of old Daka, she eventually awoke in an ornate tent, wondering how she had got there. The tent was soon filled with 3 more occupants, who were Anakin, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, and her face turned to annoyance at the sight of the Jedi. The panic of almost losing his Padawan had faded from Anakin, and she politely asked Ventress if she knew anything about the attack on Coruscant or the mind probe on Senator Amidala. Now they had a common enemy. Ventress said she did not know the man beneath the hood, only that he was referred to as Darth Sidious, and for Obi-Wan Kenobi, this brought back memories of his time on Geonosis, and under a containment field talking to Count Dooku. Perhaps he had misunderstood Dooku, and he might have been telling the truth. Anakin knew that Ventress was hiding more than they were being told, but Obi-Wan decided that she had suffered enough, and they made their way back to the ship. Captain Rex approached the Jedi and asked them to go to the holoprojector as there was a message from Coruscant. The Jedi started to play the message, and to the shock of the Jedi, each senator was being prodded by an electrostaff, and at the end of the images, the senator transformed to Palpatine, who was begging to be freed. Obi-Wan stroked his beard and knew this was a trap, and as he looked at Anakin, he could see the strategic cogs turning in Anakin's mind. The Jedi knew that this Darth Sidious was holding them hostage, but he also now knew that the Sith were targeting him for his powers, so it was time to put everything he had learned on Mortis to use. Charger and Longshot had successfully completed the repairs on the Twilight, and the small team returned to Coruscant with Ventress, who had unfinished business with their traitorous masters. Even with Anakin modifying the hyperdrive, the Jedi arrived several days later to their home planet Another Jedi, and when they exited hyperspace, they were stunned at the sight. The normally luminous Coruscant was now blanketed by swirling wormholes, and it was as if life was being drawn away. Anakin had to stop himself convulsing at the thought of the lives that could be lost, including Padme, and instead refocused to order Rex to steer the ship closer. Even the loyal clone had second thoughts, but trusted his general to tilt the controls forward until Anakin could feel its source. With its force cloak removed, Anakin now sensed that his so-called friend Palpatine was the one responsible for this monstrosity. With a renewed determination, Anakin dismissed the protests of the Jedi and stepped outside of the ship and leapt down into one of the wormholes. The Jedi's body felt like it was being pulled from all directions, but his immense control of the Force slowed the progress to a manageable speed until he fell through the skies. The dark and eerie atmosphere was soon punctured by the screams of Anakin as he fell down and cushioned by the Force. He looked around to see a variety of weird floating objects in Bacta tanks. As he examined a floating hand, the cackle of Palpatine reverberated across the area, and Anakin turned to face his former mentor. The Sith Lord told the Jedi that there was nothing left for him in the galaxy, and now he should take his place by his side. Anakin smirked when he saw Dooku looking betrayed at Palpatine's words, and when the apprentice ignited his curved-hilted lightsaber, Anakin did not even bother to ignite his own. The Jedi directed a flash of yellow-coloured energy at Dooku, and the Sith was sent tumbling to the floor, with his robe singed and his life fading. Palpatine laughed again and told Anakin that he would make for a better apprentice, but the Jedi ignored these words. The Jedi sensed the Sith Lord was growing overconfident and out of control, and when the Sith cast his infamous lightning attack, Anakin seized the moment. Catching the bright white light in his hands, he turned it into a white cloud of smoke, and whilst Palpatine was surprised, Anakin directed Dooku's stricken lightsaber into Palpatine's head. Plumes of black acrid smoke rose from his surroundings, but Anakin stumbled out of the curious complex to look at the stars. The Jedi Knight had no idea what planet he was on, or even if there was a way back, but what he did know was that he had protected the power of the Ones and saved the galaxy.